Hey everyone, Andrew here, and it's time for another beginner's guide to the Walt Disney World parks. Today we'll be doing a beginner's guide on Disney's Hollywood Studios, originally known as the MGM Studios, but that unfortunately changed as much of this park did. This has always been a little bit of an odd duckling park. It's always been a bit of a half-day kind of bare bones park. Like, there's stuff here, but there's not a lot of it. But it does have some of its strength and some of its elements. This has some of the better extreme rides. It has some of the better shows and some of the better interaction stuff. But it's always been a little bit odd. And that's not surprising when you learn the history of this park. Historically, this park was made out of spite. So originally this park was called MGM Studios. It was a rush job to be made. It was made as quickly as possible, and it was designed so that it would have a giant studio space in the back where they could film different movies and different television shows, and add another hub for Hollywood, so they had like an East Coast spot that they could go and do lots of filming and lots of shows, but also doubled as a theme park. And the reason I say this was made out of spite was because Disney knew that Universal Studios was planning to open up a park in Florida, and they knew that they would just try to full sail their Hollywood park into Florida. So to beat them to the punch, Disney built this park so that they would be the prime source for filming in Florida. When Universal Studios finally did come down to Florida, they could not really do the full studio set element like they did before, so they had to reimagine a lot of their attractions. That's why the Jaws ride and the King Kong ride down here were full-on rides as opposed to just being part of this studio tour. And on the one hand, that helped Universal Studios a lot because they actually had to be ambitious with their Orlando park and really test things. But on the negative side, it kind of hurt Disney to make this park because, quite frankly, the whole studio attempt backfired in their faces super hard. Like, they didn't make much money from it. Not a lot of things wanted to film down here. It blew up in their faces very quickly. And on the plus side, once they started destroying those studio areas and decided to add them to the park, we were able to add in Toy Story Land and Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and expand the park and add in more rides. And around 2000, the park changed from MGM Studios into Hollywood Studios because MGM decided they didn't want to continue the licensing, and they'd been fighting Disney for years anyway, so it became Hollywood Studios, which such a boring title. But yeah. And I have a history with this park to an extent because this was the first Disney World park I ever went to. I was 9 years old. It was one of those trips where it's like, okay, we only have a day in Orlando. We can do one of the Walt Disney World parks. Andrew, pick one. Because my mom did that to me a lot as a kid. It was like, you pick. I'm like, okay. And I looked at the information, I looked at what was offering, and I picked this park. I picked it for Muppet Vision 3D, and I picked it because it had this whole area that was dedicated to Honey, I Shrunk the Kid, and I was obsessed with Honey, I Shrunk the Kid when I was a kid. So I was like, the idea of interacting with a giant ant and giant things of that nature was very appealing to me. And then I came to the park, and it had one ride I could go on that I would want to go on, and that was the Great Movie Ride. And that ride was great. I loved that. But the entire rest of the park was a bit of a letdown. Started off my history of having iffy time at Walt Disney World, where sometimes some parts of it are great and some parts of it are not. It has expanded. There's a lot more stuff now, but it is still, to me, a very half-day kind of park. So we will be going a bit over the park, much like I did in all my other videos. I will be going land by land, going through each of the attractions, each of the shows, what I like about them, what I don't, giving them a rating overall. If they have a equivalent in one of the other parks, usually going to be in Disneyland or California Adventure. If there's a difference between them, if so, what those are, and if not, which one I prefer. And also, like restaurants in the area, if there's any worth mentioning. And then at the end, I will give you my thoughts overall and which ones I think are worth your time and which ones I think are worth skipping. So we will be starting off with the Hollywood Boulevard, which is the main entrance to this park. And the Hollywood Boulevard is very reminiscent of both like Main Street USA and Disneyland, but also the front entrance for Universal Studios. Like, you step into this space and it's very 1920s Hollywood and very, very reminiscent of Universal. It's like you can just see how they were ripping off Universal Studios for this. There's not much in the way of attractions here. The only ride here is in the dead middle of the park, which is the Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, which is inside a copy of the Grauman's Chinese Theater in LA. And this is a really fun, creative, interactive ride. This used to be the home of the Great Movie Ride, which I absolutely loved. Is one of my favorite rides in Walt Disney World. You would go through like the entire history of film and see different elements and different parts of it. It's a really fun, really creative ride, but it was also incredibly slow. Like, it was a good 20-30 minute ride, and there were elements of it to keep you interested, but I know a lot of people that were like, this was very slow and very boring and very dull. I loved it. I thought it was a great ride. It was really sad to see it go. I was happy that I got to go on it one more time before it went out entirely. And in the last couple years, it changed into Mickey's Runaway Rails because, quite frankly, Disney didn't want to keep paying to use all of these different references from all of these different movies that were not owned by them, so they changed it into something they owned. But it was a sad thing to see disappear in its entirety. But I do have to say, I really do like Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Rails. I think it is a decent substitute. I think it takes the basic idea of what the Great Movie Ride kind of was, but they make it far more fun and energetic. You're following Mickey and Minnie as they're trying to rescue you after a train accident, and your cars all getting separated and going down different tracks. Really fun trackless ride that you're just getting spun around in and have different elements and different things you interact with. It is a bit on the herky-jerky side. It is a little bit shorter. It's definitely shorter compared to the Great Movie Ride, but it's a solid 4.5 out of 5 for me. I really like it. I think it's a really fun blast of a ride. If you've been to Disneyland, there is a version of this ride in their Toontown, and it is identical except for the line/queue. The queue for that one is all movie theater themed and Mickey themed and different parts of the history and different elements of that. Whereas over here, it's inside the knockoff Grauman's Chinese Theater, and you'll see some like posters of Mickey and Minnie, but it doesn't really mesh with the ride itself, because it's not intended for the ride. It was intended for the Great Movie Ride. So I gotta give it a smidge more credit to the Disneyland one, because they, built the whole space for it and it feels natural, but they're pretty much identical otherwise. That is it ride-wise over here. Food-wise, you have the Trolley Car Cafe where you can get your caffeine fix if you need your Starbucks. There's also the Hollywood Brown Derby, which is a table service restaurant. Is actually a replica of one of the really famous Hollywood landmarks, which is called the Brown Derby. It has a whole bunch of classical food. It's a very big table service sit down restaurant. Really fancy, really pricey. Some good food though. It's hard to get into. It's one of those ones where you have to make the reservations 60 days in advance to get into it. But it's got some really creative food items. It's got a grapefruit cake, which is pretty good. Next we have the Echo Lake, which is themed after the Echo Lake in California. This area has the Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular. This is a really fun little stunt show where you see Indiana Jones interacting with different parts of his films. You have him running away from the ball and, fighting around the plane and things like that nature. It's really fun, really creative. It's very reminiscent of the stunt shows they used to do over in Universal Studios, but I would say that those were a bit better handled than this one is. This one can be a little bit stop and go. There's a lot of, taking time to readjust the entire set to be a different thing, and it's just okay, it's a bit on the long side. It runs for a good 30 minutes, and it can feel like that sometimes, but I still think it's really creative, really fun, really interesting. It is sad though that anytime it rains, this show closes down, and it's southern Florida, so it rains fairly frequently, so there's a good chance that you're just not going to be able to see the show because it's just closed for rain. But overall, I give it a solid 4.5 out of 5. Over in this area, we also have Star Tours, The Adventure Continues. This is where you get inside a space shuttle and C-3PO ends up piloting and you're running away from the First Order or from the Empire. And you have to join the Resistance and the Rebellion and travel through these different areas and these different lands. It's very much a simulator ride. You can, jerked and left and right and all that. Really fun, really energetic. The problem is it's very herky, very jerky. Like, I can't ride on it anymore because it just makes me nauseated and I don't enjoy any part of that anymore. Like, I used to love it when it used to be just the original Star Tours. I do not like this current iteration of it. I just don't. I think it's way too rough. The last time I went on it, I went with my ex, and she was a hardcore roller coaster girl. Six Flags all day, ride everything twice kind of girl. She went on Star Tours once, came off of it, and she's like, "Oh God," like just completely nauseated, and I was like the same way, and we were like, so it is a ride that has dramatically dropped in my appreciation of it. It used to be one of my favorites. It was always like my number 3 favorite ride over in Disneyland. It was my number 2 here, but now it's not even in my top 10. I give it a solid 3.5 out of 5. Like, it's still a decent-ish ride, but it's not one I would really recommend. And it's outshone by Star Wars's Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run. Like, that is the better version of this ride. So it's fine for what it is, but it's not one I particularly love anymore. There is a version of this over in Tomorrowland at Disneyland. The rides themselves are identical. The only difference is the line/queue. This one has the much better line queue because you have this whole front area that's themed after the films. You get to see a giant walker and an AT-ST and all that stuff. It's really great walk-in area. But the ride itself is identical, so you're not really missing anything if you choose to skip this. You also have Vacation Fun, which is a little short animation starring Mickey and Minnie getting ready to go on a vacation. It's fine for what it is. It's cute, it's fun, but it's only like a 10-minute thing. It's a solid 2 out of 5 for me. There's also, for the first time in forever, a Frozen sing-along celebration. This is a live-action-ish stage production where you have 2 storytellers telling you the history of Anna and Elsa and how their story happened, and you get to see live action performances, but you also have projections of the film, and you get to sing along with different parts of it. It's an okay production. It's like, if your kid really likes Frozen, this is a fun little thing for them to do. But if you're someone who doesn't like Frozen at all, this is not going to change your opinion on it. It's okay. It's a fun little interaction thing, but it's not something I would go out of my way for. It's a 2.5 out of 5. Like, it's alright. And that's it for rides over here. Food-wise, we have the Hollywood and Vine, which is an all-you-can-eat buffet style. This is a really good place to have the character meet and greets. They have one that's all Disney Junior, and they have one that's Mickey and Minnie and all that stuff. That's pretty fun. There's a 50s primetime diner, which is all like 1950s diner food, meatloaf and chicken and things of that nature. It's pretty good. Pretty much it food-wise. Next, we have Commissary Lane, which has nothing in it except for a meet and greet with Mickey and Minnie. But there is in this area the Sci-Fi Dine-In Theater Restaurant. This is a really interesting, well-designed restaurant where it's all like you're in a 1950s drive-in, and each of the tables is shaped like a 1950s car, and they're projecting onto the screen these old like B sci-fi films and different things. Really great aesthetic, has a beautiful look to it. However, the food is pretty pathetic. It's just burgers and fries and milkshakes and stuff you can get pretty much anywhere. Just nothing of real note. It's a great place to look at, but the food is disappointing. Next, you have the Grand Avenue space that isn't going to exist very, very soon. In fact, it's closed right now. So this used to be where they housed Muppet Vision 3D. Unfortunately, they are closing down this entire section. They are going to reimagine it into a Monsters, Inc. land. On the positive side, they are not getting rid of Muppet Vision 3D. They are just going to move it to a different building and reuse it in a different way, which I am very thankful for because I do absolutely love this show, and I would be very sad if it got rid of it entirely. But I am also on the point where it's like they're going to build a whole Monsters, Inc. land, and I'm just like, why? Like, Monsters, Inc. is a franchise that is barely a franchise. Like, there are 2 films and a television show, and they were like 7-8 years apart between each iteration. And I don't necessarily see why we need to build a whole land dedicated to this franchise. I am excited to see what they do with the rides. Like, they have a door-themed roller coaster-esque ride that sounds really fun. I'm excited and looking forward to that. But that could have just been a ride. I don't know if we needed a whole Monsters, Inc. themed area for that. But I'm still kind of excited overall for this. But as for Muppet Vision 3D as it is now, it was a really fun, creative little show using the Muppets who are setting up for this big show. Used the 3D very, really well. Had some really good fun stuff. Had some really good puppetry and really good ideas. I liked it a lot. I think it's a really creative and fun show, but it's not really something that you have to go out of your way for. But it's fun and energetic and great way to spend 20 minutes. I give it a solid 3.5 out of 5. I'm glad that it's going to continue to exist in some way, shape, or form. I'm glad it's not getting completely taken away like they did in California Adventure, but it is sad that it is losing the space that it had that was built around being a whole Muppet themed. And as far as food in this area goes, I don't know what's going to survive when they make it Monsters, Inc., so I'm just going to skip all of these. Nothing in there was really particularly amazing anyway, as far as I was concerned. Next, we have Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. And if you've been to the Galaxy's Edge over in Disneyland, you will know that these two are basically the exact same. Almost 100% the exact same. There's like little subtle differences, like different space placements and different things, but 99% of it is the exact same. So if you've been to the Disneyland Galaxy's Edge, you do not need to go to the Hollywood Studios Galaxy's Edge. You can just skip it entirely. That said, if you haven't been, there's a couple really great rides in this area. You have the Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run, which, like I said, is a much better version of the Star Tours, where you are part of the Millennium Falcon crew and you are going on this mission to steal these items, which are coaxium crystals right now. That should change soon, hopefully, to some other stuff. But you get one of 3 jobs. You're either the pilot, the gunner, or the engineer. My personal favorite is the engineer. You get to sit in the back and just enjoy the ride, and then every once in a while a button will light up and you'll just press it. Really fun. The gunner job is basically you're just slamming the shoot button until it's time to stop shooting. And the pilot one, though, can be a bit tricky because there's 2 controllers. There's an up and a down and a left and a right, and they're on opposite ends of the ship. So one of you is controlling up and down, the other one's controlling left and right. And that can be a bit tricky. I personally, anytime that I've been a pilot, we've done poorly. Like, we can get like one of them, but we can never get the second one, and it's really a shame because like anytime I've been like any of the other spots, we've done fine, but if I'm piloting, we've done bad. Like, I hope to get better at it, but it is a bit tricky, and it does kind of hamper my enjoyment of that a bit, that I can't do all of the parts as well as I want to. But overall, I really do enjoy this ride a lot. It's a solid 4.5 out of 5 for me. Really great, really fun, but that said, if you've been to the Disneyland version, you've done this version. You don't need to do this one as well. There's also Rise of the Resistance, where you join up with the Resistance and board a shuttle to go help them, but that shuttle gets captured by the First Order, and you get taken into a prison cell, and then you get rescued by the Resistance and get on this little vehicle controlled by a droid, and you drive your way through the different parts of the ship while being chased by stormtroopers and Kylo Ren. It's really fun, really energetic, really creative, very fun trackless ride with one really big drop in it. Just such great storytelling, such great elements to it. And the only real negative with this ride is that the line is always really long. It's always 2 hours plus, and it breaks down quite easily. Like, it breaks down every day, it feels like. And there's always something screwy with it. And the number of times that I've been in the line and got to the front and then it just broke, and you had to come back later. It's just like, ugh. But overall, I still love this. It's a solid 5 out of 5 for me. Legitimately one of the best rides Disney's ever done. Again, this is identical to the one that's in Disneyland, so if you've done that one, you don't have to do this one. In Star Wars Land, there are 2 shops worth taking a look if you are a Star Wars fan. There is Savi's Workshop. Basically, you get to build and make your own custom lightsaber. It is quite expensive to take, but you get to choose all the pieces and you get to take it home with you. And the ceremony itself is pretty cool, but unless you're like a hardcore Star Wars fan, it's something that you can watch on YouTube, and you don't need to spend that kind of money on, like, but if you're someone who, would love to have their own lightsaber, and is a big fan, it's good for that. There's also the Droid Depot, where you get to build your own R2-D2 droid, or BB-8. It's really fun, you get to pick some interesting pieces, but it's also a bit on the pricey side. It's really good if you have kids and they want to have their own kind of droid, and if you're a hardcore Star Wars fan, it's worth a look if you want your own little personal remote control droid. Food-wise, over in this area, you have the Docking Bay 7, which has some really great food items, some good options, but they can get a little bit on the spicy side. You have the Ronto Roaster, which I recommend not getting the Ronto Roaster itself, which is basically a hot dog in a pita bread. I recommend getting the vegetarian option. That actually is really good. It's got some really nice flavors to it. There's the Milk Stand, which has a blue and green milk, which you can get spiked in this one, as opposed to the Disneyland side, which can't serve alcohol for that. I recommend the blue milk. Stay away from the green milk. It tastes like grass, even with alcohol. And then there is Oga's Cantina, which is a really fun restaurant that is... You have a couple things that you need to know when you're going into Oga's Cantina to have a good time. For starters, it is a 45-minute time limit with a 2-drink maximum. That is enforced, and it's 2 drinks max, no minimum, but even if you get non-alcoholics, you can only get 2. There is a booth seating, which is sit down, and then there are standing tables, which are walk-ins. The booth seating is reservation only. They sell out 60 days in advance, and they only become available 60 days in advance. So that if you want a booth, you have to wake up at 6 in the morning to make reservations for that. Because if you come in as a walk-in at the standing area, you're not going to get to sit down. You will be told to stand. If you have little kids and you put them on the table, they will ask you to take the kids down. And the servers here are encouraged to be a little bit on the salty side, a little bit more standoffish, because this is supposed to be a dive bar in the backwaters of, the Star Wars area. So this is you're not going to get the Disney level of service necessarily. They are going to be a little bit more standoffish. But that can be a lot of fun. You can mess with them and they can mess with you. It's like a nicer version of Dick's Last Resort. Drink-wise over here, they got some really great stuff. Highly recommend the Outer Rim and the Fuzzy Tauntaun. Stay away from the Black Spire Brew. Stay away from the Bloody Rancor. They are still going off of the old recipe for that, which is absolutely disgusting. It's like drinking A1 sauce. And that is, unfortunately, one of the negatives comparing this one to the one in the Disneyland side. Is the Disneyland side, they constantly change the menu slightly, so they have newer food items and newer this, that, and the other. Whereas the Florida side, I found, doesn't do that a lot. They still serve the stuff that they got from when they opened, even if that drink doesn't taste as good as it used to, or never tasted good to begin with. Like the Bloody Rancor, they've never adjusted to make it taste better. So yeah, there's some stuff at this one that's a little bit iffier. I recommend the Disneyland one way more than the Hollywood Studios version, because I just think they have better product. But there's also there's just enough differences that they're both unique experiences. Up next we have Toy Story Land, which has some really great fun rides and some great aesthetic of this. You're inside this giant toy box area. It has the Slinky Dog Dash, which is a roller coaster where you ride on the back of Slinky through these different dips and dives and turns. It can get really fast, a little jerky, but really fun kiddie coaster. It's not anything that's super intense, but it's something that definitely is a ride that most ages can handle. I'm a lightweight when it comes to roller coasters, and even I thought this was a little bit childish for my taste. But overall, I still really like it. I gave it a 4 out of 5. You have the alien swirling saucers. You basically get in this little pod that behind one of the alien spaceships, and it spins you in a circle, and you get whipped from side to side. It is very reminiscent of Mater's Junkyard Jamboree over in California Adventure. It's got some really great fun to it, really great aesthetics, but it is also not something you really have to do, especially if you've been on the version over in California Adventure, which is just this but slightly better. But I still give it a solid 3 out of 5. It's pretty fun. There's also Toy Story Mania, which is this really fun thing where the toys from Toy Story have opened up this big box of Midway games, and you get to join them and play in the games. You get in this little pod, and you get this little cannon with a string, and you're shooting these little rings onto the targets and breaking glass and doing different stuff. It's really fun, really creative, really energetic. It's a blast, a solid 4.5 out of 5. Really just a blast to do from start to finish. That said, if you have been to the version in California Adventure, you have been on this version. The only difference is that the queue for this one is a little bit longer and a little bit more Toy Story-esque. Food-wise, over in this area, you have Woody's Lunchbox, which has really good sandwiches and really good options for that. You also have the Roundup Rodeo Barbecue, which is all-you-can-eat barbecue, which is absolutely delicious. Really good options, really good stuff. Legitimately, anytime Disney does an all-you-can-eat barbecue, they do a really good job with it. I recommend it. It can be a little on the pricey side, but for all you can eat and for what is offered, it's well worth it. We have the Animation Courtyard, which has different little shows and different little attractions. It has the Walt Disney Presents, where you go through the history of Walt Disney and how he got started and how he got into films and things of that nature. It's a pretty good little fun walk around. And it'll have like little sneak peeks of different things that might be coming out, but it's just a fun little walkthrough. It's a 2 out of 5. You also have the Disney Junior Play and Dance, which is a lot like the Disney Junior Dance Party, which sometimes is here, sometimes isn't. It's this really fun, interactive thing for you little kids where they get to see characters from the Disney Junior shows and get to interact and dance and have fun to the music. It's really good if you have little kids, like 6 and under. Something fun for them to do that you get to sit down and watch, let them just run around and spend energy. It's not something I would recommend unless you have really little kids. It's not something I've done myself. I've only watched the video on it because I'm way too old for that stuff, but it's okay for what it is. It's a 2 out of 5. It's not something you really have to go out of your way for. Food-wise, the only thing over here is at a coffee cart. Nothing worthy of note. Next, you have the Sunset Boulevard, where all of the bigger roller coaster ride stuff are, including the Rockin' Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith, where you get on this big stretch limo roller coaster and you get launched into the dark through these dips and dives and curves and turns. I have not gotten to ride this myself because it terrifies me. I'm not a huge roller coaster fan in general, and then a roller coaster in the dark that I know is going to have multiple dips and turns is a little rough for my taste. Like, I love Space Mountain, but I love that because I know there's no corkscrews, whereas even watching this and with the lights on, I've seen pieces of it where I'm like, okay, I could handle this, I couldn't handle that, I don't know if I could handle that. It looks a bit rough for me. But from the aesthetic of it and the storytelling of it and the energy of it, it is an easy 4.5 out of 5 for me. It looks really fun, really energetic. It is sad that this is going to be closing in the next couple of years. Next year or two, to be reimagined into a Muppets musical mayhem where the band from the Muppet Show takes over and is the star of the thing. Honestly, I don't think this ride is going to lose very much by doing this retheming because it's just going from a more popular rock band to a more goofy rock band. From everything I've heard, though, it's just going to be an aesthetic change. It's not going to be a ride change. It's not going to change the track in any way, shape, or form. It's just going to be more Muppet theme, which seems like it should be a really easy transition because it's pretty nondescript as it is anyway. Just going to make it a smidge more colorful. That said, the Muppets is a very all-ages friendly kind of brand, and then this roller coaster is very much a teenager to adult kind of roller coaster. So it's weird because you know there are going to be little kids that desperately want to go on this roller coaster not knowing that it's too intense for them. And I can just see a whole bunch of little kids going on this ride thinking it's going to be a fun Muppet ride and then being traumatized because of how intense this roller coaster could be. But I still think it's a really good theming and a really good idea. They also have the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror, which is this lovely rustic 1920s hotel that's all scary and Twilight Zone theme, and you step inside this elevator and you get launched into the sky and very big tower drop. Beautiful aesthetic, interesting story, really fun tower drop ride if you are a person that likes tower drop rides. I am not a tower drop person, so this was on my never again list because I don't enjoy freaking out in the line. I don't enjoy the ride itself, and I don't enjoy how it makes me feel afterwards. But I am glad I did it. I'm glad that this version still exists, because the version that they opened over in California Adventure, they turned into Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout. But I still like this version of it. I think it's a really solid thing. I give it a 4.5 out of 5. The differences between the two, between this and Mission Breakout: Twilight Zone Tower of the Terror has the better aesthetic and the better design. Mission Breakout is the better ride. It has more drops. It is a little bit more creative in its drops and its use of music, whereas Twilight Zone Tower of Terror has such great theming and ideas, but it is only 3 drops, like all the way up and then down, and then part of the way up and then down, and then third of the way up and down. Very quick. Whereas there's so many extra drops in the Mission Breakout version. But I still think both are good, and I'm glad this version still exists as it is. We also have Beauty and the Beast Live on Stage, which is a stage production of Beauty and the Beast, done as an abridgment to an extent. It's very reminiscent of the actual Broadway show. It's very energetic, full of colorful characters, really good costumes, really good performances, nice dance numbers. It's a blast to watch from start to finish. It's not something you really have to do, but I really enjoy it. Solid 3 out of 5 for me. We also have Lightning McQueen's Racing Academy, which I do believe is currently closed forever and is going to be reimagined into a Disney villains, the magic mirror type of thing, where the magic mirror is interacting with different Disney villains. It looks really cool. I'm really excited to see what they do with it. As for what it was, which was Lightning McQueen's Racing Academy, this was a really okay little show with a little bit of interactions, where you got to see Lightning McQueen go on a race, and you got to interact with this really cool, really complex and animatronic that had some great movements and some great stuff to it. I do hope that they take this animatronic and they put it into the Cars land that they are building in Magic Kingdom, because it is a really good animatronic and I think would elevate that land a bit. But for the show itself, it was a solid 2 out of 5. Like, it's okay for what it is, but it's not one that I don't think anyone's going to be super mad is gone. Now, also, they always put it in this area, but it's not technically in this area. You have Fantasmic. Has its own full-on theater for this version of it, which is this really great creative show where you follow Mickey Mouse into his dreams and you see him interact with Disney villains and Disney princesses and creatures and animals. Really creative, really fun. They did a good job building this space to really showcase the show. I really do enjoy the show. I give it a solid 4.5 out of 5. There is a version of this over in Disneyland that they do on the Rivers of America. I have to give the credit to the Disneyland version. I think it's a little bit better. There is dramatic differences between the two. There are scenes that are in the Hollywood Studios version that are not in the Disneyland version at all. And they still have the full-on dragon that breathes fire, which is still really cool, whereas the Disneyland lost that one last year due to a fire. And they didn't bother to replace it. They just did a stupid thing with it. But there's just some of the grandness of how it is done at the Disneyland side that just works a lot better. Plus, having a full-size Mark Twain riverboat as opposed to the little dinky riverboat that they do at the end of this one just adds so much more to it. It just works better in the Rivers of America than I think it does even in its own custom theater. And as far as food-wise goes in this area, there really isn't much. There's a little market that has different little food items, and there's a KRNR, the Rock Station, which has some food items, but nothing really great. Also in this park, they do the Disney Movie Magic Light Show. This is where they project different parts of different movies, going through the history of movies onto the Grauman's Chinese Theater. It is kind of interesting. You get to see a little bit of different films and different music and set to it. But at the end of the day, it's basically Fantasmic minus the light performances, or World of Color minus the water effects. It's a 1.5 out of 5. It's not something to go out of your way for or to actually wait around to see it. You're better off trying to go watch Fantasmic or going over to Epcot or Magic Kingdom to watch the fireworks. But that's pretty much it as far as Disney's Hollywood Studios goes. So yeah, this is very much a half-day park that has just got some good ideas and some not great ideas. There's stuff in this that worked really well, and there's stuff in this that just kind of like, oh, okay. There's nothing like horrendous here that I'm like, oh god, why don't they get rid of this? Most of the stuff they have there is kind of interesting and kind of stuff. There's nothing too bad, but it is one of those ones where it's like, if you've ever been to Disneyland, if you've ever been to California Adventure, there's a lot of park rides here that you can just skip entirely, which makes this even more of a half-day park than if you've never even been to it. Definitely, if you are planning a trip to Disney World, do not make this your only park you're going to hit like I did the first time. Because Disney has a really good job of getting you convinced that even their more boring stuff is really interesting. And I can definitely say I have fallen for it a couple times. So, yeah. Fair warning, this is very much a half-day park. It does have some good stuff in it. So I have to do 2 separate top 5s for this, because there's the top 5 of if you've never been to any of the Disney parks, these are the things to do. And then there's a top 5 of if you've been to Disneyland and California Adventure, these are the ones you can skip, and these are the 5 that you have to do that are unique to this one. And for the top 5, including all our rides, number 5, Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. Number 4 would be Millennium Falcon Smugglers 1. Number 3 would be Slinky's Dog Dash. Number 2 would be the Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular, and number 1 would be Rise of the Resistance. All have some really good stuff to it. As far as the unique and exclusive only to this park, 5 would be the Beauty and the Beasts live on stage. Number 4 would be the Rock and Roller Coaster. Number 3 would be the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. Number 2 would be the Slinky Dog Dash, and number 1 would be the Indiana Jones Stunt Show Spectacular. As far as rides that are completely skippable, again, if you've been to the Disneyland side or the California Adventure side and you've done some of these things, you can skip all of Star Wars Land, you can skip Toy Story Mania, you can skip the Minnie and Mickey's Runaway Whales, the Disney Junior Play and Dance, you can skip. This is a park that is easily the weakest of the 4 main Disney World parks. It is not one that you really have to plan your whole day around. It's one that, honestly, you can just squeeze in at the end of another park's day, where it's like, okay, we have a couple hours, and this park closes in shortly. But it still has some stuff in it that works really well. It does have some really great aesthetics to it, and some good storytelling to it. The Toy Story Land is just such a great addition, as well as Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Like, if I hadn't been to the one in Disneyland, I would have liked this Galaxy's Edge a lot more than I did. But because it's the exact same, it just kind of was like, oh, okay. Because that's the difference between, like, Magic Kingdom and this one. It's like Magic Kingdom, there's similar lands, but they're all a little different. This Galaxy's Edge is just identical, and that's just disappointing. But I still like this park overall, and it still has a place in my heart. Just not my particular favorite, but that is just my opinion on this place. What do you all think? Do you like this park? Do you hate this park? Are there rides that I didn't talk enough about? Is there restaurants in here that you would recommend? Let me know. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Happy watching, happy all reading. I will see you all at the next park, which is Animal Kingdom. Until then, bye.